Have you ever heard the expression, no pain, no gain? It's usually used in reference to changing your physical health, that you actually have to tear muscles and push through your resistance in order to get results. I have a yoga teacher who is against that particular wisdom. He believes that you can change your body through easing into a position. However, I tend to agree that when you want to move to another level in your business or your work, it requires a certain amount of pushing and discomfort. But there is a difference between pushing from fear and pushing from flow. For example, pushing from fear where you are busy all the time, so busy that you don't have time to do follow-ups with your contacts. You're going to networking meetings every day, you're speaking twice a week, you're on the phone all the time setting up more events, but you're never making the phone calls. Maybe you're so busy because you don't want to make the phone calls, and being busy gives you an excuse for not getting around to it. Now that's different from pushing through with flow. For example, I had a book launch last week, and I was busy on the internet and on Facebook almost all day long. It was an anthology, and there were other authors, and we were all excited, and we were working together in concert and keeping tabs on each other and seeing the results of our launch, seeing that first we were national bestseller in the United States and France, and then we became bestseller, international bestseller, and we kept on adding more and more countries. And each time there was this reward, which pushed the pushing, but it was pushing from excitement rather than from fear. I had no fear. I was pushing because I was excited. And at the end of the day, I was exhausted. And I had been pushing, but it was from a different place, a different energy. We learn to push from fear oftentimes in our childhood. Either we are in a situation, a family situation that is dysfunctional, our parents aren't giving us enough attention, and so we develop patterns to get the love and the attention that we need to survive, and we learn to a certain extent to push. The other way in which we learn is through modeling. If our father is moving from a fear place and showing this pushing pattern, we may adopt the same pattern even though it doesn't come from fear, but rather through habit. In my own experience, I had a mother who was what you might call a little hysterical. That is, when she didn't get her way, she would get really, really upset. Bless her, poor soul. My mother was the daughter of an alcoholic and a mother with the temperature of Alaska. And there would be weeks on end in which there would be no conversation or talking, just silence in the house. It's no wonder that she felt like she needed to express herself all the time. I found that if I was busy, if I helped her out by folding the clothes or cleaning the dishwasher, that I would get less grief. And to this day, cleaning up around the house, staying busy is one of the things that actually calms me down. It has been associated with safety. You have to watch out for that though, because you can get in the habit of staying busy but not being productive. That is, not getting the results that you really, really want. A client came to me because she was too busy and it was affecting her health. So that's a good sign that you are working too hard if it's affecting your health or it's affecting your relationships. That if you are so busy and maybe you're getting results, that is, you're making money, or maybe it's just not even doing that. You want to look at that pattern. So in her case, she had this pattern of staying busy. She got it from her father. Her father basically abandoned her when she was a small child because he was traveling all over the world working. So she learned that pattern of overwork and self-abandonment. I mean, he was, I guess, abandoning himself, but he certainly was abandoning her. But in addition, later on, when she was in high school, her father divorced her mother and the money stopped flowing. So now she had the double trauma of suddenly not having funds. So those two things together were working to compel her to stay busy all the time and never to feel like she has enough money. Unfortunately, it was seriously affecting her health. She was getting neurological symptoms, and it was affecting her eyesight. And I had to point out to her that if she did not change her behavior, she could lose her health, and that she could lose her money like that if she did not listen to her body. So in essence, I actually had to use fear, a bigger fear, to get her to change, which, by the way, it did. The difference, though, is, and sometimes you have to use a bigger fear to get somebody to shift initially, because they're not going to be motivated by some brilliant pie in the sky vision if they are operating from fear. So you have to actually push them. But once you get them going, you want to bring in the positives, like I had with a launch, where you were constantly getting that reinforcement over and over again, this is right. And indeed, she got that result, that as she started cutting back on her work, her health actually got better. And she started to work on her dream, her goal of being an entrepreneur, and she got the reinforcement that was coming from that as well. So that's the kind of thing I do. I enable my clients to see what the underlying pattern is that's holding them back, provide them with the practices that are going to bring up the fear that is around the behavior that's holding them back, so that they can heal the fear, they can heal the pattern, and they can move forward. Reward is much nicer than fear, and you don't want to develop a pattern of motivating yourself always from fear, because chronic fear is detrimental to your body. You are literally releasing chemicals into your body that are toxic as battery acid to your internal organs. So a little bit will be motivating, but then you need to replace that with something ongoing that reinforces the good behavior, the behavior that's getting you in the direction of where you want to go. And you might be asking, well, will this work for making more money? Well, yes, indeed, if what is blocking you is a pattern from childhood or early adulthood that is getting in the way, that's causing a fear response that keeps you busy, for example, or keeps you avoiding what you need to do. That's what I do. I enable you to see what that pattern is and to change that pattern. For example, people pleasing can really get in the way of being successful in a coaching business. You actually need to replace your people pleasing behavior with leadership, because in people pleasing, you're not going to make the demands on your clients that they need you to do. You need to stand the ground. And that starts right with the enrollment call, that you don't let them get away with equivocating or putting you off, that you call them. And that comes from leadership, from being in your power. Sometimes you have to change your clients. Sometimes the clients that you've been working with are really not your ideal clients, but that can be scary. If you upgrade your clients, you might feel like, oh my goodness, I actually have to show up more than I have to show up for these clients. If I'm charging more, then I have to produce more. Only you maybe don't quite understand what it means to give more. Your higher level clients don't necessarily want you to work harder. They want you to be working more effectively. And if you're not working more effectively, they don't want to waste their time with you giving them a bunch of fluff, a bunch of stuff that fills the hour but doesn't really get the results. So you have to be more strategic and you have to be more effective, which means you have to get in touch with your true gifts, what I call brilliance. Unfortunately, a lot of us in our childhood our brilliance was tamped down. I know that was the case with me for years and years. I avoided anything that had to do with who I really was because I believed that I needed to please people, and that meant to figure out what they wanted. And certainly who I was wasn't what they wanted, because why would I have been abandoned if that wasn't the case? 2-year-olds do not have the best reasoning power. Therefore, if you have been holding back your real gifts, that's something that we could work on together. I could enable you to identify what your true gifts are and how you can put those into your program, how you can incorporate them into the coaching that you do. I know a lot of coaching training it encourages you to sit around and just listen to people. But that's not a very effective way. Real coaches are like athletic coaches. They give directions. They direct their clients towards the activities and actions that are going to produce results, that are going to win the gold. And that's what I do. For a long time, I worked with clients around grief and loss, and I still do this. People come to me because they have lost somebody and they cannot get over it. It's usually they do not come to me the first time right away. They come when they feel stuck and they need to get back into their lives and they can't do it. Sometimes people come to me with griefs and losses that are like 5, 10, 20 years old. And they've gone to see therapists, psychoanalysts, and have not gotten results. I give the results. However, I have found that with some of these clients that all they want is to be over their grief. And once I enable them to get over their grief and to go back into living their lives, they don't have a bigger purpose. I'm interested in clients that have that bigger vision. I want to enable as many women as I can to live their passion and purpose, to make a difference in this world. That's how we're going to change the world. So that's my mission. There are always going to be hurdles. You're going to reach a level and it'll be really nice for a while, and then you're going to need to move to the next level. And when you move to that next level, there are going to be things that are challenging. And sometimes you're going to have to drop down before you go back up again. And that can be very scary. That's where it really helps to have a coach to point you in the right direction, to encourage you, and to give you the guidance. Because otherwise it can feel like you're crashing and burning. And when you go into that mind thought, you actually make things worse for yourself. So if you are stuck, if you've been doing well for a while and you're stuck and you can't move to the next level, or you're just getting started and something's holding you back, like with my client, give me a call. There is a link over there. Click on the link, schedule an appointment with me, 15-20 minutes, and I'll let you see how I work and see whether we're a fit and how I can help you. I wanted to tell you one other story. I had another client who came to me, and it wasn't her health that was a problem, it was actually her husband's health. And this happens too, is that it's not my client, but my client's spouse that is working all the time, overwhelm. And if they are your source, if they're your major source of income, you need to take action. And that can be pretty scary if you are a people pleaser. You don't want to rock the boat. Once again, I had to use fear. I had to remind her of what would happen if he died and what she needs to do to change things. And then as she started to do that and started to see the results and to get the results that she's been wanting for a long time, it's almost like the universe conspires to create these difficulties so that we can grow and change. And that's the other point, the hurdles. The hurdles are actually there to help us to grow, to do better in our lives. So don't get upset when you get hit with hurdles. Hurdles are actually there to empower you, to make you better. Again, if you want to have a conversation with me, click on the link over there and let's have a conversation. See if we have a resonance and we can work together. So that's it for today. Remember to push from flow, not fear, and be brilliant. Bye for now.